Time to meet the 24. Yes, 24 Democrats hoping to unseat Donald Trump in 2020. Welcome back to Plain English. This is episode 165 of the best podcast for learning English. And you can find the full transcript of today's episode online at plainenglish.com/165. The transcript is great if you have any trouble recognizing all the words, or if you just want to go back and study some new words that you heard during the episode. plainenglish.com/165. Coming up today, they all want a shot at taking down Trump on November 3rd, 2020. They are the 24 candidates for the Democratic nomination for president, and the first candidates' debates will be in Miami on June 26th and 27th. Later on in the episode, we'll talk about the English phrase, scratch your head. It's kind of a fun phrase to use. And of course, we'll have JR's Song of the Week. Are you thinking about the IELTS exam? Maybe you have to take the test for a visa application, a graduate degree, or even a job. If so, you'll want to take the free IELTS Foundations course from our friends at IELTS Advantage. And it's free for Plain English listeners at plainenglish.com/IELTS. Each one wants to be the hero or heroine who takes down the polarizing American president, but the 24 candidates have a long battle ahead of them. And the first big test will come next Wednesday, June 26th, which is the first of 12 scheduled candidates' debates. It'll be on TV. If you're outside the United States, you might be scratching your head wondering if you fell asleep and woke up a whole year later. Why are we talking about the November 2020 American election now, in June 2019? Well, it's a feature of our drawn-out two-step election system. In the first stage, which is just getting going now, candidates run for the nomination of one of the two major parties. About a year from now, both parties will have one candidate, and then from summer 2020 until the first Tuesday in November, the two candidates, the two nominees, go head to head. But until then, we have the selection process, and it doesn't happen all at once. It goes state by state through what we call primary season, which is named for the primary elections, which begin the cycle in February and last through the beginning of the summer. This is the election solely to choose the nominee of each party. Now, states will vote in clusters throughout the season, and the candidates try to accumulate statewide wins throughout the primary season. It's more complicated than that. Maybe we'll get into it in a future episode, but for now, what you need to know is this. The voting to choose the Democratic nominee will start in February 2020, and the candidates are all gearing up for those important early states right now. As I mentioned before, over 24 people have officially registered as candidates for the Democratic nomination. So we have 7 months or so, during which time candidates will raise money, deliver speeches, shake hands, kiss babies, take shots at Trump, air television commercials, and debate together. How, you may ask, are 24 people, larger than a typical kindergarten classroom, all going to debate each other? It's a question the Democratic Party asked itself when setting up the debate rules for this year. And the answer is they're going to have 2 nights of debates, each with 10 candidates. That means the 4 candidates with the lowest support won't appear on stage in the first round of debates. So who are all these people? Well, let's go in declining order of popularity. First up, the frontrunner, Joe Biden, the 76-year-old veteran politician, was Barack Obama's vice president and was a senator from the state of Delaware before that. He is considered the centrist, the practical one, the one who knows how to win. He's familiar to Democratic voters. He's been a major party figure for 2 decades, and he is leading the pack right now with about 26% support in this crowded field. Next up, Bernie Sanders. The independent Vermont senator ignited the primary field in the 2016 election cycle, but he narrowly lost to Hillary Clinton, who, of course, went on to lose to Trump. Though 77 years old himself, he has a strong following among younger, more idealistic voters. Bernie Sanders promises radical change on issues like climate change and national health care. Elizabeth Warren, a senator from the northeastern state of Massachusetts, is polling a strong third and has had a good few weeks. She is well to the left, politically, of Joe Biden, but she is seen as a more serious, policy-oriented candidate than Bernie Sanders is. Her big issue is the regulation of business. So these are the big 3, with name recognition, fundraising, and policy proposals, not to mention popularity. Now we start getting into the middle tier of candidates. Still serious candidates, but they've got their work cut out for them if they want to break into the top tier. The most interesting one would be Pete Buttigieg, the 37-year-old former mayor of a small city in Indiana. He's a gifted politician and a strong contrast to the septuagenarian frontrunners. He would also be the first gay nominee of any political party. He has about 8% support in the early polls. 2 more senators, Kamala Harris from California and Cory Booker from New Jersey, have national profiles but have struggled to break out of the single digits in support. Beto O'Rourke, a former congressman from El Paso, Texas, is a strong retail politician. That means he's good in small crowds, shaking hands, and such. but he needs to get some more national attention. So a small town mayor, 2 sitting senators, and an ex-congressman make up the middle tier. Now comes the long tail, the 17 others who are all polling somewhere around 0 and 1% each. A few more senators, Kirsten Gillibrand of New York, Amy Klobuchar of Minnesota, Michael Bennet of Colorado, and the 88-year-old former Senator Mike Gravel. Several sitting congressmen and congresswomen are in the race. Tulsi Gabbard of Hawaii, Eric Swalwell of California, Tim Ryan of Ohio, Seth Moulton, also of Massachusetts, and ex-Congressman John Delaney. A couple of governors, Jay Inslee of Washington State, whose only issue is climate change, Montana Governor Steve Bullock, former Colorado Governor John Hickenlooper. Would this country really elect someone whose last name is Hickenlooper? We're not done yet. The mayor of New York City, I mentioned him a few weeks ago, Bill de Blasio, former mayor of San Antonio, Julian Castro, the mayor of Miramar, Florida, Wayne Messam. I don't know where Miramar, Florida is either, don't worry. The spiritual advisor to Oprah. Yes, this is really happening. The spiritual advisor to Oprah, Marianne Williamson, and entrepreneur Andrew Yang. I'm out of breath. 24 candidates. Yikes. If I had to guess, I would say there will probably be about 10 left when the primary voting starts in the first primary states in February. But then after those first few states go, it'll be a battle among 3, maybe 4 candidates tops. We'll see. Hey, is the IELTS exam in your future? The IELTS is an English test that you might be taking if you apply for a scholarship, a university degree, a visa, or even a new job if that job requires English. If the IELTS exam is in your future, then you will want to be prepared for that test. And knowing English, unfortunately, is not enough preparation. You have to know the test too. You have to know how to answer all the different types of questions. You have to know what the examiners are looking for in each part of the test. It's not impossible to learn, but you'll need to go in prepared. Luckily for you, our friends at IELTS Advantage have a free course to get you started. You can find that at plainenglish.com/IELTS. Now, once you go through the free course, you might find that you want some extra help. Maybe you want to practice the verbal parts. Maybe you want some written tests corrected. Maybe you just want some more study strategies. IELTS Advantage can help you with all that, but the first step really is to take the free course. It's full of useful advice and strategies. This is the real deal, not just some quick tips. Those things are a dime a dozen. The IELTS Fundamentals course is the true preparation you need for the test. And if you need more resources, then the people behind that course are available to help with some of their premium courses. So if IELTS is in your future, the place to start is plainenglish.com/IELTS. We have a funny expression today, to scratch your head. Scratch is like when a part of you itches. You scratch it to make it feel better. Isn't this one of those universal symbols for being confused? A person scratching his or her head? We use it pretty often in English metaphorically. You almost never actually do it, but here's how you initially heard it. I started talking about the 2020 presidential election, which will happen in November 2020. It is currently June 20th, 2019. So we have more than 16 months left before the election. That's insane. The campaigns in Mexico are about 5 months. In the UK, less than that. Canada's election are 2.5 months. In France and Japan, the official campaigns last 2 weeks. So if you're from Mexico or one of those other countries, you might be scratching your head wondering why, now 16 months ahead of an election, there are official presidential debates going on. You might be scratching your head. You might be wondering, really curious, what's going on here? When you say scratching your head, you want to introduce a visual. You want to really illustrate your confusion. I wonder if it's going to rain this afternoon. But that's not true confusion. So I would never say, I'm scratching my head wondering if it will rain later. No, we reserve this phrase for true confusion. Here's one. Last week, Sunday, I'm going out in the morning. I've got some chores to do, maybe visit the gym before my flight. I go down my back stairs, open the door to my garage, and I look at where my car normally is, and I see just an empty space. I'm scratching my head wondering, where is my car? This is where I park it. This is where it belongs. It's not here. I'm scratching my head wondering, what is going on here? And then after a minute, I realize that the previous day I had parked on the street because the alley to my garage was blocked by a moving truck. Aha, okay, I'm not crazy and it wasn't stolen. Have you ever ordered furniture that comes flat packed in a box? You open it up and there are like 100 parts and tools, and the instruction book has about 4 confusing images. No words, just images that you're supposed to use to magically put together a bookshelf. What do you do in that case? Some of you might be able to follow those confusing instructions. Others might be able to look at the parts and figure out how it goes together without that little book. Me? I'm just left scratching my head and wondering about the return policy. I don't know what to do with this pile of parts and these unclear instructions. All I can do is scratch my head. It's Thursday, so it's time for the Song of the Week. Cody from Argentina nominated this week's song. I had never heard it before, but I really, really like it. It's Tear Up This Town by the English band Keane. It was released as a single for the movie A Monster Calls, a dark fantasy movie from 2016. The lyrics are really clear, a little fast at times, but really clear. I need a friend, but a friend is so hard to find is one of the lines. Check it out. Tear Up This Town by Keen. And thank you to Cody from Argentina for this nomination. If you would like to nominate your favorite English song, you can send your nominations to jr@plainenglish.com. That brings us to the end of the program today. Sad, I know, but we always have another one ready to go in just a few days' time. And the next one will be out on Monday. The topic is an ancient discovery in China. I'll leave you with that little clue. Just a quick reminder before we go that JR sends out some additional study resources with each episode. Those include a written summary of the main topic, 2 links to articles about the main topic in English, which you can use to further practice your English, and the definition of one additional word that appeared in the episode. And that's not just once a week. That's with every episode. And there are 52 weeks in a year. So if you subscribe to the free emails for a full year, you'll learn 104 new words. And if you think a year is a long time, there are listeners who have been with us for well over a year. You guys know who you are. So if you'd like to get those emails, just go to plainenglish.com/mail and enter your details. plainenglish.com/mail. That's all for today. JR and I will be back on Monday. See you then.